they make us associate brands with feelings so that we'll buy them. That's the deal. And that's how it's been for generations. But there's a new movement in advertising. They're no longer shoving their products down our throats, just their identity politics. And the only feeling they're inspiring is extreme irritation. Well, Bud Light's the most popular beer in America, and for reasons which are not entirely clear to anybody at the moment, they recently teamed up with Dylan Mulvaney. She was someone who identified until very recently as a gay man, then non-binary, and now apparently is a woman, and is an influencer who makes kitsch videos about womanhood and being a girl from the vantage point of, to be honest, a biological man.
This month I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me possibly the best gift ever, a can with my face on it. Check out my Instagram story to see how you can enjoy March Madness with Bud Light and maybe win some money too.
Well, that went down as well as you could be expected, I guess. The response from Bud Light's customers was distinctly unenthusiastic.
The new Bud Light thing. I could be this thing, I could be that thing, or I could be anything.
I'm out. Cancel Bud Light, you see what it is? We ain't drinking Bud Light. You can fuck around and find you may make it through the snares. Let me say something to all you and be as clear and concise as possible.
Little over the top there from Kid Rock. Now, I personally think unleashing hellfire on cases of Bud Light with a semi-automatic rifle is a slight overreaction. You could just choose to buy a different beer. And as every British person will tell you, it's not really beer anyway, it's kind of fizzy urine. But the serious point is that a major brand is once again force-feeding an ideology onto its customers that they don't want to have. Many women were rightly outraged when Nike used the very same trans influencer to advertise sports bras, even though Dylan Mulvaney has no breasts. And these are not isolated incidents of corporate insanity. We had ads which promote taking the knee, ads which seem to promote mastectomies, ads which promote Black Lives Matter, ads with pregnant men, ads which wrap every single imaginable product, merchandise or service in the rainbow pride flag. And whether you support those causes or not, many of them I do, the common theme is a business promoting a worldview that's kind of irrelevant and unfamiliar to most of the people currently buying their product. The most famous example of this was Gillette, the men's shaving company, which used to advertise like this. Gillette, the best a man can get. On so many faces, it's plain to see. We give you all we have to give.
Contour Plus with lubricating strip for the best a man can get.
Oh, I made you proud to be a man, and that was the problem, unfortunately. Can't be proud to be a man anymore. Can't be proud to be masculine. No. Nothing laudable about a man who works hard, makes money, has a beautiful wife, raises great kids, and wins. No. Gillette thought there was a massive problem with this, so they launched, in the light of Me Too, a man-shaming attack ad instead. Take a look at this.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual harassment.
Masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get? Is it? We can't hide from it.
Sexual harassment is taking over.
It's been going on far too long.
I remember that ad coming out, and I've been a long-time Gillette customer. These cheeks, most nights, get the old Gillette treatment, and it makes me feel like a man, masculine, proud to be a man. And suddenly I had to feel ashamed. I had to feel like I was a monster unless I could prove otherwise. Why would Gillette do that? Why would it make their millions of male customers be ashamed to be a man? Well, the reaction, as I predicted in the column the next day, was a disaster. I think it cost them $9 billion.
It's really upsetting as a woman to see other women support men instead of standing by each other. If gender didn't matter, there wouldn't be separate sports categories for men and women. The world has gone crazy. Thanks, Piers, for speaking up.
Brands and businesses competing for our cash. We give them money, they give us the things we need or desire to make our lives easier and less miserable. That's the deal. But there's a problem. They hate you. And they don't seem to care if you know it. At some unidentified point in recent history, companies lost interest in simply selling things and decided it was their duty to change the way that you and I think. Someone somewhere said corporate board members of the world unite. And suddenly the people who sell you fizzy drinks and credit cards were also telling you that Black Lives Matter, that Pride Month is more important than Christmas, you're personally to blame for climate change because of your filthy carbon footprint, and so on and so on. This week, Coutts Bank, my own bank, was exposed for terminating Nigel Farage's account because of his divisive opinions, supposedly, and his stance on Brexit. Here's Dame Alison Rose, the CEO of NatWest, which owns Coutts.
The climate emergency is the biggest challenge that we're going to face. And as a bank and the leading bank in the UK, we have a real role to play. Clearly not enough money is going to female entrepreneurs and there are too many barriers in their way to helping them succeed.
We have targets at our CEO-4 level right the way through the organisation to encourage all elements of diversity and inclusivity.
Well, apart from including, it seems, Nigel Farage. So her politics were pretty clear. I actually happen to agree with some of her causes and views, but I also wonder what's that got to do with my bank? I disagree with Nigel Farage's opinions about many things, including Brexit, but I don't think he should be denied access to banking because of them. Does anybody? Well, Coutts has tonight grovelingly apologised to Nigel Farage and said NatWest will offer to find him alternative arrangements, but haven't offered him his account back at Coutts. The Treasury says it'll toughen up its rules to make sure this never happens again, but the reputational damage once again is done. It seems Orwellian that it ever happened in the first place. And when it comes to corporate wokery, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Ben & Jerry's, which sells ice cream in America, blamed the United States for the war in Ukraine. Earlier this month, it called for indigenous lands to be returned to indigenous people, before it emerged that its own HQ was built on land owned by, you guessed it, indigenous people. What's the lesson there, other than all this wokery tends to be based on hypocrisy? Well, maybe it's just stick to selling ice cream. Huh? Try that old trick. Bud Light must be wishing they'd stuck to selling beer. The drink of choice for millions of sports-loving working-class Americans, teamed up with trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney, who was a man till last year and now spends most of her time mocking women. America's favourite beer company decided that she would be the perfect person to sell their beer and absolutely tanked their business because most of their consumers went, "What are you doing?" Well, that debacle has cost them $27 billion so far. The same thing you might remember happened to Gillette, which suddenly told all its male customers, including myself, that we were a bunch of Harvey Weinsteins until we could prove otherwise. They took an $8 billion write-down in value. It's corporate suicide. Or maybe it's Maybelline. The popular lipstick merchant last week decided to tell women they should aspire to be big, bald men with beards when they buy their lipstick. Really? Why? Why would you think that would work? Why is no one in your offices like me going, "What are you doing, you idiots?" We'll see how it goes. I can tell you how it's going to go. Probably not very well. Because most women don't buy lipstick because a big, bald, bearded bloke tells them to. Last month, Adidas chose a biologically male model complete with visible bulge to advertise a female swimming costume. Again, why would you do that? This week we discovered that Disney has abolished its Seven Dwarfs in a live-action remake of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The dwarves have been replaced by 7 magical creatures of varying shapes, sizes, ethnicities and genders. Actually, what that means is one dwarf actor is still in that film, about 7 dwarves, and the rest are average height people. So 6 dwarf actors lost work in a Hollywood blockbuster because of wokery. Disney also abolished its famous princes and princesses because they're gender stereotypes. Really? Can't we just have princes and princesses anymore? But it does now feature gay kisses and lots of diversity. Here's a Disney executive explaining why.
Our leadership over there has been so welcoming to my not at all secret gay. I was just wherever I could just.
I don't get how a company can tell me how to think, feel, or act. When I buy ice cream, I just want ice cream, not a lesson on social issues.
I think you all look pretty pasty-faced and unhealthy to me, but that's your choice. What I don't do is I don't go running into vegan restaurants and start screaming abuse at you all and have to be pulled out by people because you're ruining everyone's fun. Why do you do that to meat eaters?
Well, Piers, you've started on an absolute blinder today. I actually brought a little game with me for Aldo, perhaps the audience to play. It's a Piers Morgan vegan bingo. Maybe we get a zoom on that from the camera. And you've actually just ticked off straight away, I'll just go with that. We're looking at row or a column already. So the thing is, within years, technology like precision fermentation, alt protein, is going to produce the exact same products that you love right now, using a fraction of the land, producing a fraction of the carbon
but I like
footprint.
eating meat.
It's the exact same product.
No, but I like eating meat.
Fine. You'll be eating the exact same product.
In fact, the
but
more
without
you guys do
expectation
this
of
kind of thing,
animals.
the more meat I want to eat.
That's absolutely fine.
No, it's
Piers.
true.
That's fine. That's
you
fine.
literally, it's a bit. Honestly, it's true. The more stuff you do like this,
Sorry, I didn't catch that. It's true, is it? You've said that about 3 times. I didn't
What's
quite catch
true?
it. That you like eating meat.
Yes.
Oh, thanks. I didn't get it the first 3 times.
How committed a vegan are you?
How committed a vegan am I?
Would you eat? Do you drink almond milk?
Oh, you've ticked off another one. Fantastic, Piers. You are on an absolute
Does it have
roll.
answering questions?
I don't. I'll keep that one hidden from you. Take the fun
Can
out
you
of
just
the game.
answer questions? Otherwise, it's not much of an interview. I mean, you have your little chart, but do you drink almond milk?
No.
Do you eat almonds?
No.
Do you eat avocado?
No.
What do you eat? What do you drink?
I love seasonal British fruit and veg.
Right.
I love supporting British farmers. I love going to a farmer's market, seeing what they have to offer. I love eating a plant-based
But most
diet.
science now says that if you don't have a balanced diet, it's actually unhealthy for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's why a plant-based diet, a balanced plant-based diet is healthy.
Aldo, what do you feel? I mean, your restaurant is very close to where this happened, right? What do you feel about these activists running in, ruining people's meals?
Listen, 25 years ago, I opened one of the first vegetarian restaurants in London, it's Soho. And if it was now, it's probably more successful. Then it didn't get very successful. But anyway, cut long story short, I don't have any problems. I've written a vegetarian book, not a vegan book. I don't have any problems with veganism and vegetarian people because I have restaurants. I'm a consultant for a number of restaurants, number of restaurant companies, and we have vegan and vegetarians on menus. So I don't understand when it gets out of hand that these people have to disrupt our business.
Well, because they have no respect for meat eaters. But if we were doing the same thing to them, they'd all go nuts, right? Wouldn't you? You'd all go nuts. If I came running into your little vegan hellholes and began screaming abuse, you'd all throw your toys out the pram, as you do on a daily basis.
I'm not throwing my toys out the pram right now, Piers. I'm loving this, to be honest.
What are you loving?
I'm loving this open conversation that we're having about this actual quite.
But why do you have
issue.
to go and do a restaurant and disrupt our business, disrupt the customers, other people that want to eat the meat, other people that want to enjoy themselves, they want to go and have a night out? I don't have any problems with you guys coming to our restaurants and ordering a vegan dish. In fact, in January, we always do a veganuary, and we go through a lot of different ingredients to create menus for you guys. I don't understand why we have to suffer your mentality of coming to our restaurants and trying to disrupt the customers that are having a fantastic time and they want to eat a steak.
What's the answer?
No, it's actually a good question, Aldo. And actually, it's fantastic that you create fantastic vegan dishes. The fact of the matter is, when we look at high-end restaurants, Salt-Based restaurant, Manor up in Manchester that was also disrupted at the weekend, these are symbols of a broken system.
Why? Because he makes nice
symbols of a broken system where, there's 1,500 quid getting charged for a steak.
Why is he making millions
Can I please
around
make
the
my point?
world?
I was in one of his restaurants last week in Qatar. Loved it. Fantastic. But he served me. I've got a clip, I think, of him.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to show it. I was wondering how long it would take.
That was me doing his little salt trick. He taught me.
You weren't very good at it.
He then actually cooked it in front of me and he fed me, directly fed me the meat into my mouth. It was delicious. Loved it.
Fine.
Loved it.
I would invite any vegans.
But if you'd run in and tried to interrupt and just ruin everyone's night, I would have done what those waitresses did, just thrown you out.
That's absolutely fine.
So what's the point of it all? What does it achieve? None of you make me want to change my mind. I just think, what annoying little squits. Honestly, I do. It's the same when you're chucking paint at Van Gogh paintings. It's the same when you're tying yourself to fuel pumps or hanging yourself on bridges and stopping people using Dartford Tunnel. It's all the same. You're just all too annoying. So the British public don't like annoying people and they don't like their lives being disrupted. They want their freedom to have a choice. The choices I had in Qatar last week to have Salt Bay's restaurant you invaded to do this to my mouth.
Can you imagine someone coming in
This is it.
and disrupting your evening?
Have we got the clip? We haven't got the clip.
Oh, what shit.
Oh, you just ran it, OK.
No, but can you imagine you coming to our restaurants and then you get some people coming to your table and trying to disrupt your evening? It's abuse.
I am going to start running into vegan restaurants.
That's fine. Go for
just
it.
Shouting
That's your
and
right,
being annoying
that's your right
and
to protest,
grabbing
Piers.
tables, and so you can't eat your gruel, and just see how you lot like it.
Honestly,
I'm going to go to
Piers.
your house and chop paint
Piers.
all over it.
Piers, you've got a right to protest. Oof! You've got me another one.
Take it off your bingo.
Fantastic.
Take it off your bingo, son.
But where's the salt? Where's it?
Won't need any of this gruel. Let's put that
Fantastic.
to one side, but I will have a bit of steak just to...
You didn't salt it, though.
You see, all you've achieved is you've made me want to do this. Just eat a
That's
lovely...
absolutely fine. You go for it.
Do you know how many steaks he's had from my restaurant?
A lot. But here's my point. I love eating steak. I'm not going to stop eating steak.
Yeah.
And the very last thing on earth that will stop me eating steak is people like you with your pasty faces running into our restaurants telling us to stop eating steak.
That's
the
fine.
very last thing I'm going to do.
Absolutely
Because you don't
fine,
represent to me
Piers.
vitality or good health. You just all look like you want a good bit of steak.
That's
Honestly, you do.
absolutely fine. You're fully entitled to that opinion. And as I've just said earlier, you're right to protest if you want to run into a
Your
vegan
mates are
restaurant.
also the Extinction
Absolutely
Rebellion,
fine.
right?
My mate.
This guy is exactly why people don't like vegans. All he says is, that's fine, because he's face to face and isn't arguing with someone online.
Which remain unclear. This is how it went.
Ace, where have you been? The boys and girls are here and they're waiting to hear the three tales about... money. My name's Emma and this is Ace. We have a fantastic story for you today. Now, the story may seem like one you'd know, but the characters in it are a little bit different.
It's hard to believe, but the tennis ball exchanging hilarious banter with Emma Raducanu in the video is not real. It's CGI, and believe it or not, Emma is a tennis player, not an actor. But let's not distract from the powerful core message.
So in the end, the princesses didn't need a prince to save them. They set up their own businesses, saved their money, and then spent it very wisely. Thanks to our princesses, Ace has learnt some new money skills. Maybe you'll buy a tower one day, or set up your own shoe business, or any business you want. Now that you've learned how to save and spend money, you can do anything.
Of course, as we all know, the best way to improve the aspirations of women is by trashing men. And as Emma says, women don't need men at all. She certainly never needed any men, as far as we know, to get where she is today, except, well, a father, of course, who manages her career and, well, fathered her. And then there are her 5 coaches, who so far have all been male. Or Max Eisenbud, her agent, who apparently is very, very good at maximising her earning potential, despite being a man. And then a final twist of this dastardly tale of virtue signalling treachery. It turns out the chairman, chief executive and chief financial officer on HSBC's board of directors are all men too. Well, joining me now is Talk TV contributor Esther Cracker, associate editor of The Mirror, Kevin Maguire, and socialist author Grace Blakely. Grace... I don't know where to start with this. I mean, apart from the fact that as a man, let me just offer Miss Raducanu some advice. I think she's great. And when she won the US Open, it was amazing. But she hasn't won a shoebox since then. And I think she's spending too much time on this commercial stuff and not enough time on the court. That's my personal view as a man. Take it, leave it, trash it, whatever you want.
I think you're missing, actually, the most important part of this story, right, which isn't like the big man versus women battle that we're all supposed to take a side in. It's the fact that HSBC is a massive international, bank that has frequently been accused of things like money laundering. It was accused of money laundering for Mexican drug cartels. It was accused of supporting tax avoidance and evasion. It's frequently threatened the government of the UK to relocate to another part of the world if we say do something like raise tax on corporations, or if we start regulating the financial sector properly. And this is basically an attempt at kind of pinkwashing it, saying, don't look at all the terrible things that we've been embroiled in over the last several decades. Don't look at the fact that we're basically trying to undermine democracy by telling you what laws you can and can't pass. Just look at the fact that we've done a nice, pretty little fairy tale. And, oh, by the way, if you're a woman and you start a business, then that's great, and that makes you a good woman. Feminism isn't for people who don't get the chance to start.
And it certainly isn't a great thing to be a woman at HSBC, where the vast majority of the people that run the bank are actually men. I mean, the problem with this, it's a bit like Barbie, the movie. It's a bit like all these things. There's a kind of subtext here of, well, men are pointless and annoying and you should never not just rely on them, but have them in your life. Just expunge men from the world and all will be fine.
Well, yes, but I think we should be more concerned with why a bank or any business feels the need to actually do this. I don't remember asking HSBC what they think about fairy tales or women in business or anything like that. Why can't they just be a business? Why do businesses feel the need to lecture us or take a particular political position as if we need them as our moral arbiters or anything?
I totally agree. I mean,
bizarre.
Kevin, we've seen this time and again now. Companies just doing these woke advertising campaigns, none of which work. Right, there's an immediate backlash from all their customers who don't like this kind of thing. I think it's a growing number of people, whether you're Bud Light or Gillette when they played this stunt or any of these others. Now we have this. It's not going to work. It's not going to achieve what they think it is. People are going to go, fantastic HSBC. They're either going to say what Grace said, which is, just a bunch of flaming hypocrites, or they're going to say, stop talking to me about this stuff. Just make my bank do its job. Be a banker.
That's why I love it, because it backfires. It is entirely cynical by this bank, which, look, you open a business with them, you can't keep up your repayments on a loan, and they'll have you. They'll have the shirt off your back, they'll have your handbag, your shoes, they'll have your house, they'll have every last penny you've got. But somehow, there's a whole industry convincing them they should do this. And whoever's doing it, a good luck to the advertising people who get them to do this nonsense.
Can I just say, kudos to Emma Raducanu's agent for actually getting her this gig, because she's a terrible actress. Yeah. She looks like as wooden as a board, and she doesn't even believe what she's reading.
I think there is an important underlying story here, right, which is the reason that we've had this explosion in kind of, greenwashing, pinkwashing, things like ethical consumption, is that most people realise that the system we live in is incredibly unfair. They want to, do things to prevent climate breakdown. They want to do things to support, equal rights and prevent, the economy from privileging certain people over others.
Piers was right when he said Emma Raducanu hasn't done much in tennis since winning the US Open. Telling young girls they don't need men or relationships is harmful.
Well, out of a rare victory for free speech, comedian and author Konstantin Kisin went viral after taking on woke culture in an Oxford Union speech. Let's have a look at some of the highlights.
This country is responsible for 2% of global carbon emissions, which means that if Britain was to sink into the sea right now, it would make absolutely no difference to the issue of climate change. You know why? Because the future of the climate is going to be decided in Asia and in Latin America by poor people who couldn't give a about saving the planet. There is only one thing we can do in this country to stop climate change, and that is to make scientific and technological breakthroughs that will create the clean energy that is not only clean, but also cheap. And the only thing that wokeness has to offer in exchange is to brainwash bright young minds like you to believe that you are victims, to believe that you have no agency, to believe that what you must do to improve the world is to complain, is to protest, is to throw soup on paintings. We know that the way to improve the world is to work, is to create, it is to build. And the problem with woke culture is that it's trained too many young minds like yours to forget about that.
Yes.
The slow hand clap. That's what every comedian works for, Piers.
Let me do it faster. I've done the Oxford Union, tough crowd normally, but you actually won a lot of them over. They were quite respectful. And I think you were probably a bit surprised by the response. It's gone viral, global, all over America as well, because it really resonated with people, I think, rather like me, where, I'm not right-wing, I'm not left-wing, I'm kind of slightly centre, I guess, politically about stuff. A liberal more than not, but I find this ultra-woke mentality so illiberal that it borders on the very fascism they profess to hate most. So to see you go into the lion's den a bit with all these woke students, and actually what I thought was impressive about it, Konstantin, was the way you didn't demonise them. And maybe that is the way to progress and get this woke nonsense dealt with properly, is that you don't demonise them, you actually show them a better way.
I think so, and like you, I identify as politically non-binary, Piers. And so that's the angle I was approaching from. And look, the fact is, both you and I know that when we were 18, 20, we were idiots as well, and we were very cocky and sure of ourselves, and we thought we knew the answers to everything.
What we didn't have was the internet to brainwash us.
And we didn't have this very powerful ideology, actually. Wokeness is an ideology, and there's some very strong concepts behind it. But that all aside, I mean, I found that I had a very interesting encounter because you once have seen this, but we had to wait quite a long time before the debate started. And I actually was talking to one of the students in the bar, and she couldn't believe that I even thought the woke people existed. Like, to her, this was unicorns. But she came up to me after the debate and asked for a selfie. And that's kind of what I thought really summed up the whole experience. We've got to remember, these are young people in their mind. They're open to persuasion. We got to make better arguments. And I think antagonizing people, and we've all been there, you and I and everything else, you know, my journey with my show, Trigonometry, it's been an evolution too.
Yes.
I haven't started out like this necessarily. But what I've come to now, and maybe it's being a father of a young child now as well, I'm starting to see that, you know, these are kids, and we have a responsibility to persuade them, to convince them with rational argument. And look, when you're speaking to bright people like the ones at Oxford, you've got a chance.
I mean, one of the worst aspects of wokery is the way that people now feel too afraid to express opinions. And it's becoming a real thing where people, you know, I had Dame Joan Collins on here, didn't want to say what she thought a woman was. And she's one of my favourite people in the world, Joan, and obviously knows what she believes a woman is, but didn't want to raise her head over a parapet just to be shot down by the trans lobby or whatever lobby it may be at any given moment. There's this mob mentality. If you don't agree with me, you must be cancelled immediately, shamed, vilified, J.K. Rowling, whoever it may be. How have we got to this place? What's fueling it? How do we deal with it?
Well, first of all, I know that you're shocked by it, and I think a lot of people in the West are shocked, but actually, as someone who grew up in the Soviet Union, this is very familiar. I mean, this is exactly what we had, and that's one of the reasons I'm in this country, is my grandfather said the wrong thing and was forced into exile. So this is actually, if you think about human history, pretty standard. We just didn't expect it to be happening in the 21st century. And I think technology is a big part of it. Social media allows people to mob other people.
Well, it fuels also tribalism. It fuels this sort of righteous indignation that people, the victimhood.
And
people
there's
get
power. Don't forget, there's also
Oh, there's
power.
real power. And the power actually manifests itself from the mob going to corporate world and demanding that they...
I'm happy Constantine's comments have gone viral. But will the woke crowd listen? We can hope.
Lost a job for allowing a male rapist into a female prison. And Sir Keir Starmer, who's leader of the opposition Labour Party here, was talking about protections for women in Parliament today, and yet he refuses to say what a woman is. Where are we with this? How has it come that leaders of parties in countries like the UK, and we see a lot of it in America as well, just won't say what a woman is?
Well, first of all, I have to apologize to you because all of this wokeness originates here in the United States of America, and then we export it to you in the UK.
Yes, you're to blame.
So we started this really in America. Yes, we are. You know, the wokeness starts here, and then it, of course, moves over, and now you guys have to deal with it. The world has to deal with it. But I say this, I'm proud to celebrate International Women's Day because I know what a woman is. So I would say if you don't know what a woman is, you don't get to celebrate it. You don't get to pretend to be a feminist when it's helpful to you or helpful to your political narrative. You have to be able to define what a woman is. This is all a farce. They are seeking to erase women, and this is the radical rainbow mafia, as I call it. This is not your average LGBT activist. This is the rainbow mafia section of that radical LGBTQ movement that has made women less than, and then has elevated all of this transgenderism and all of this pick your gender, identify as potato. They have hijacked the women's rights movement, the feminist movement, and actual feminists should be really pissed off about it.
Well, as a feminist, I am. I recently interviewed Angelica, the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, and I asked him this question, which seems to stump many other leaders. Here's the clip. What is a woman? We know that Nicola Sturgeon can't answer that. We know Keir Starmer can't answer that. You're the British Prime Minister. What is a woman?
Yeah, of course I know what a woman is. Adult human female.
It's not difficult, is it, Angelica? I mean, that is what a woman is.
I mean, I don't know why you're obsessed with defining it. Like, what is a man? Like, why do we need these arbitrary...
A man is a male, adult human. I mean, that's it.
Right, OK, I don't know that we need
these are just biological facts, but they're just facts. They're not arguable points, are they?
But I think we have a right to self-identify. And you said
as
you
what?
want to...
As what?
If you would like to be a woman, you can identify as a woman. I don't know why there is such an issue around...
We've literally just seen a male rapist use that scam to get himself put into a female prison where he could attack vulnerable women inside a female prison. when even his ex-wife said it was all a scam.
Which is a terrible, very distressing, isolated incident. And I think it's easy to take that and say that means that no one can identify as a woman. And
But
that's
it's not an
that's
isolated
fair.
incident, though.
But it's
42% of trans-identifying prisoners in prison are in there for sex crimes. There's actually an advantage, evidently, to identifying as a female, because they never identify as male, because somehow male prisons seem less appealing to them. It's really weird. Anyway, but
Is it limitless, this self-identity?
It's not totally limitless.
What's the limit?
When you're talking about International Women's Day, I don't know why we take the conversation around International Women's Day and make it about this.
But if anyone,
there's so many benefits.
right? But if
to having
anyone,
a day.
according to you, can identify as a woman, anyone can, right?
I don't see a problem with
Just
someone
literally put their hand up and say, "I'm a woman."
But it's not an easy thing to do, to go out into
Actually,
the world.
it's very easy.
It's
Incredibly easy.
You might think it's easy to say, but to decide to do that, to say
What
this
does
is
doing
who
it involve?
Whatever that person decides, but to
Does
go
it
out
involve
into the
makeup?
world and say, I don't identify as perhaps the sex I
So
was
why
born
can't
as.
I
It's not-
identify? Okay, why can't I identify as a black lesbian?
Well, firstly, I mean, it was.
Well, I'm serious. I'm serious. If I can identify as anything
Mhm.
without any need to prove I'm actually what that is,
I
why can't I, on International Women's Day, say I'm Piers Morgan, I'm a black lesbian?
I think taking it to a kind of absurd status,
I think
we're
that's
talking
what.
about quite a
with
strong
respect, I
physical
think that
change.
you'd already opened the absurdity door by saying it is limitless. You can do what you like. Anyone can say I'm a woman. So I simply ask you, why can't I?
I mean, this point kind of ridicules trans people to an extent.
Actually, I think what you said ridicules trans people, because actually people who go through the full process of transition, who actually go through what we used to call a sex change, which I don't think you can muck around with original biology, but those who actually go through surgical procedure over a number of years, I've got great respect for that very difficult journey they go on. I have zero respect for people who just wallop their hand up and go, suddenly, I'm a woman and I want all the rights that a woman has and I want to compete, say, in sport. I'm a 6'4" athlete, sprinter, swimmer, whatever, who's competed very mediocrely in male sport. I now want to come in and crush women in swimming pools and in sprinting events and break all their records, perhaps irrevocably, just by saying, I'm a woman. I think that is the absurdity you were talking about. My response was to say, well, if it's limitless, why can't I then say whatever I want to say? And you say immediately, as I knew you would, well, that's ridiculous. But my point is, you were being ridiculous.
Well, that's your opinion. You can think I'm ridiculous, but I don't think you can say, well, it has to
I don't know why I am, but you're not.
I don't think you have to say it's post-op is the only way that someone's allowed to identify
Well,
as
the
trans.
original
This is
standard
not
for
us to
the original
decide.
standard for being transgender was being diagnosed with gender dysphoria, which is a legitimate condition. And now it's being, however way you feel. So if you feel on Tuesday you're a woman and on Thursday you're a pizza, that's perfectly valid. But to you, that's ridiculous. And I want to know why that is ridiculous. We should be talking about actual women on International Women's Day. That's not crazy.
I mean, I agree. I think, but your idea of an actual woman...
The chromosomes, it's pretty
It's an adult female. It's not
The
difficult.
chromosomes are a pretty good indication.
I don't think you have to be biologically female to identify
Then
as a
you are
woman.
wrong, because then I can identify as a fox.
Yeah.
But again, it's
You
a kind
can.
of absurd point.
How many?
Like,
Well, let me ask you
you're
this.
not
Let me
an
ask you
animal.
this, Angelica. How many genders are there?
2.
There are 2 genders.
Oh.
Wow. So you don't believe in transgenders at all?
Well, I think there are...
Whoa,
two
hang on.
different-
Whoa. There are 2 genders?
Well, it's taught in...
Well, you say, well, you've literally just launched this huge defence of transgenderism. Now you've eradicated it.
I think there's...
If there are 2 genders, you mean male and female, right?
There's gender fluidity. I will...
Fluid between what?
Between what?
Between different identities, and we can choose different
You
identities.
see how difficult this is, though?
But it is difficult, but I think making...
But it's not
there's-
difficult until you make it difficult. You see, the BBC has done teaching videos to 11 and 12-year-olds where they say there are 100 genders. One of them was astrogender, which is an affinity with the stars and the galaxy. My response to that on the last show I did was to say, well, in that case...
Can you believe people actually defend this craziness? It's insane. I blame the parents. And when Angelica quickly said there are only 2 genders, then realized she ruined her own argument, that was priceless. Thanks for watching. If you liked how Piers Morgan tackled these issues, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more fearless discussions. Stay tuned for more.